Hey everybody, you saw my best list, now it's time for the opposite. Gotta go through all my worst films of 2017. Now there are a lot of movies this year that were like part of a franchise that were really disappointing and mediocre, but this isn't really what this whole video is about. This is about the worst of the worst. So you're not gonna see Justice League or Kong Skull Island on this video because those aren't that bad. Those are just mediocrity. This is the worst movies that I saw this year. And there are quite a few really terrible movies that I saw. I mean, there are some that I didn't because I either didn't waste time watching it or I wasn't allowed to or whatever, I don't know. But there are some terrible movies this year that everyone's saying is like the worst that I didn't see. So this is gonna be a list that is, I think there's still a lot of really good stuff here, but there's gonna be stuff that you might expect to see that aren't on there. I only have a few dishonorable mentions, and those are Monster Trucks. That movie that came out in January is one of the first movies I reviewed this year, and it was pretty much just as awful as I thought it would be. There's also Despicable Me 3, which is a third movie, or actually rather fourth movie in a franchise that I liked the first one of, and then after that they kept going downhill and they just made stupid movies for kids that were literally just cash grabs. And I also have Smurfs: The Lost Village. While not as bad as the live action ones, it was just a movie that was devoid of anything memorable at all. It was just a bunch of junk that's forgettable and just for kids, really. There's nothing to it. Alright, now it's time to get to the actual list. Oh boy, here we go. I erased these movies from my brain and now they're coming back. They're gonna come back to my brain because I have to talk about them again. I can't even speak because I hate doing this. So surprisingly enough, I saw a lot of people give this movie a pass. Like a bunch of people were like, yeah, it's dumb fun. It's the most expensive movie in China. You gotta give it props for that. It is a dumb fun movie that is fun, and it's fun. And I don't get how. I saw this movie and I was reminded of Gods of Egypt back in 2016. This is like Gods of Egypt 2.0, except not quite as bad, but it's still awful. Matt Damon in this movie, I'm sorry to say, but he is terrible. He was so bad. And that's sad to say because I like Matt Damon a lot. He's such a good actor, but instead he's just terrible in this movie. His accent kept changing from scene to scene. He was so bland and boring, like every character in this movie and every actor. They're all just so bland and phoning it in because they knew this was a dumb, fun movie that was just like, oh yay, we gotta fend off the Great Tower from a bunch of CGI green things. Woohoo! The special effects were terrible. All the action was lame and it looked awful. I'm gonna be honest, this movie was so forgettable that I don't even know if I can say a lot about it. It was such a disaster. Like, everything was just so dumb.
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. Well, it ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
Number 9 is a movie that I saw recently. Sleepless was bad. Sleepless was bad. A lot of people were saying, oh, this is the best movie of January. This is the most enjoyable movie of January. And then I also saw people that hated it, and I was like, yeah, I'm with them. The most entertaining thing about Sleepless for me was how entertaining the names were. Like, Jamie Foxx's son was named T, and his wife was named D. It's like, they must have taken like 2 seconds to come up with those names because they didn't want to think of a real name.
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. Well, it ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
And it's also funny because Jamie Foxx was also in one of the best action movies I've ever seen, which came out this year. It's my number 1 of the entire year, Baby Driver. And in this movie, he's just terrible. He was really good in Baby Driver too, but in this movie, he's so cheesy and bad. Like, you couldn't understand a thing he was saying throughout the movie. It was always like mumbling everything. It was so...
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. Well, it ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
It's like, that's the Jamie Foxx I remember from other movies. That's the Jamie Foxx I know. Because when I saw him in Baby Driver, I was so impressed with him because I hadn't seen him be good in a movie, I don't think, before then. I don't know if my mind's drawn a blank, but I don't think I ever saw him be good in a movie before I saw Baby Driver. And in this movie, it was just back to the Jamie Foxx that I remembered. He's terrible at acting. He can't even speak right without it being nonsensical and hard to understand.
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. Well, it ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
The action is full of cuts, the humor was awful. Michelle Monaghan, who was supposed to be like, I guess, a badass character, was really annoying and rude and not likable at all. There's no chemistry between him and T and D. There's no chemistry between him and T and D because...
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. Well, it ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
There's no chemistry between him and his son and his wife because they barely even set it up. It's just like there's 1 second of him with his wife and his son at the beginning of the movie, and they're just like, oh, it's a family that doesn't like each other, and it just happens so fast, and then his son gets taken. It's like every other action movie ever. It's like Liam Neeson's Taken again, except one of the bad sequel Takens, not the first one, which was actually good. The dialogue was awful throughout. It was really cheesy and cringeworthy. The score music is probably one of the worst scores I've heard this entire year. It was just a bunch of stock music. Like, you could just find this music on like GarageBand, and it was just like the stock music that you could play for action movies, for action scenes, that's just like and one of the scenes that just kind of sums up my thoughts about this movie is when Jamie Foxx's friend dies, and his reaction is literally kind of just like, oh.
They got teeth.
Oh.
They got teeth.
It was literally just what I did. Like, his reaction was just that. Like, this friend that he was friends with, and his reaction was just like, whatever.
They said it was just gonna be an easy grab. But they ain't no easy grab. They got teeth.
The Boss Baby. This is another movie that I kind of just erased from my memory, so it's hard to remember a lot from it. But what I do remember was a lot of terrible jokes, a plot that was barely existent. It was like they had to, like, stop a puppy from doing a thing because they were, like, cuter than babies or something. I don't even remember. I just remember it was about this boss baby who was like, oh, I'm Alec Baldwin and I can talk and I came in a taxi, and like the parents don't think that's weird at all. It's just like, I came in a taxi and that's completely normal. Like, that's just a normal thing that happens, you know? Like, parents come in a taxi and they bring a baby and you have a new son. It's a thing that happens in real life. Oh, I'm all out. Oh, jeez. I remember it just being one of those dumb movies for kids where nothing makes sense, and it was just like a toddler wrote it, really. It just literally felt like a toddler wrote it. Nothing made sense. I don't even know what else there is to say about The Boss Baby, really. It is DreamWorks' probably their worst movie ever. Like, you can do better than this, DreamWorks. You made the first 2 Shreks, and How to Train Your Dragon, and Madagascar, which a lot of people don't like, but I like the first one. The sequels suck, but maybe DreamWorks isn't as good as I remember, actually. The Circle. Holy moly, this movie was hilariously bad. Like, they couldn't even get something good out of Tom Hanks. I mean, he had like a few good jokes, but he's barely even in the movie. It's like they just cast Tom Hanks in it because, like, oh shoot, nobody's gonna see this movie. Let's cast Tom Hanks in it so that people see it. Because he's Tom Hanks. Everyone's gonna go see Tom Hanks, right? No, you know what I want to see Tom Hanks in? I want to see Tom Hanks in The Post, directed by Steven Spielberg, because that's a movie that's directed by Steven Spielberg and it has Tom Hanks in it. Like, that sounds great. This plot was just nonsensical. That's what I remember most about this movie, is that how nonsensical Emma Watson was in this movie. She was so dumb and makes decisions that are so out of left field and so weird, and it's just like, where did this come from? Nothing really makes sense in this movie. The concept isn't really explored in the way that it should have been. John Boyega wasn't really that good in this movie. He was just kind of like, hey, I'm John Boyega, I'm here in this movie, I gotta get a paycheck, I'm in Star Wars, go watch Star Wars, I like Emma Watson in this movie, I guess I'm supposed to be a love interest. Is he supposed to be a love interest? I don't even remember. It's a shame that this is one of Bill Paxton's last movies because I like that guy. And of course he had to pass away, and this is one of his last movies, I think. I think it is his last movie, which is a great way to go out. This is one of the first movies I saw this year, and it just summed up everything I hate about a lot of action movies that come out nowadays. Like, this movie was literally just like, they wanted to do some stupid stuff that made like explosions and things that are crazy with no plot. They were just like, yeah, people love explosions and action and stupid stuff, right? They're gonna pay to see this movie. Yes, everyone wants to see Vin Diesel blowing things up. Yes, action movies are the best. I may sound like I don't like action movies that much, but there are some that I love a lot. Mad Max Fury Road, Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, Baby Driver. A lot of people find these movies to be guilty pleasures, and I'm just kind of like, Why? I find them intolerable. Xander Cage in this movie wasn't even, like, remotely likable. He was kind of just a jerk throughout the movie, and apparently you're supposed to root for a guy that's like that. Really? Really? And then there's Samuel L. Jackson, who's in it for 2 scenes, and he apparently dies at the start, and then he comes back at the end, and it's like, clearly Samuel L. Jackson was doing a billion other movies because Samuel L. Jackson's in everything, and he just only had the time to do 2 scenes, so they had to do that thing where they almost killed him off, and then they didn't. I didn't like it when they did that in Captain America Winter Soldier, and I didn't like it here. Stop doing that. Oh, sorry. I had to go take a crap. You think that was a joke, but I actually went to take a crap just now. That's what this list is doing to me. What are we up to? Wish Upon! What the heck did I just do? Wish Upon is one of those movies that is so bad that it's hilarious. This movie was insanely funny. Like they were able to make death scenes funny. It kind of reminded me of The Room in the sense that they had a death scene at the end of The Room and that was funny. Imagine that, but in different scenarios and different types of dying throughout the entire movie. Then you got what Wish Upon is. You got characters that you don't care at all about because they're selfish, greedy pricks. Like, the main character in this movie is such a... But I'm not going to say that in this video, but she is what I'm thinking of, and what you're realizing that I almost just said.
In a few minutes, bitch.
The main character in this movie is so incredibly unlikable, and it is crazy how they actually, like, thought you were supposed to root for her in this movie. And the people that support her are just like, why would you support this character? Because there's nothing likable about her. She is selfish, she's constantly making wishes and getting people killed, and she doesn't care. She wants wishes. She could have, like, wished for things that will do good for all of mankind. But instead she's like, I want a boyfriend. Can I have a boyfriend? I want the handsome guy to like me. This is a movie that you have to see to believe, because there are so many bad things in this movie that are just kind of hilarious. Like, the death scenes are funny, like I said. There's a scene where a guy is, like, in a bathtub, and then he hits his head, and that's how he dies. And there's another scene where this girl had long hair, so it got stuck in a faucet, and then she died. You know, they could have just done, like, some sort of, like, death that wasn't funny, like just having, I don't know, having like some sort of weird epidemic happen, like they get hit by a meteor. Okay, that still would have been funny. Just make it a death that wasn't hilarious. I mean, it's not that hard. It doesn't seem like it'd be that hard. I mean, death is usually disturbing. It's a disturbing thing. It should be easy to get right instead of making it funny. Rings. Holy moly! Holy moly! Bleh. There were so many bad horror movies this year that just broke me, and Rings was one of them. This movie, nothing makes sense. I'm serious. This movie is so nonsensical. Like, so many things don't add up. So many things don't make any sense in hindsight. The characters are boring and bland. And I think one of the reasons that this movie pissed me off so much is because I liked the first one a lot. I thought that was a really good horror movie. Like, there were so many things that after seeing that movie, I, like, thought about and marinated on, and I was like, whoa, that's scary. The Ring is such a good horror movie, and then you have to make these sequels that are just like every other horror movie that are out there nowadays, only the only difference here is that nothing makes sense. This is another movie that, again, I had to push out of my brain, so I don't even know what to say about it. It was so terrible. I know I did a whole video on it, so maybe that's why I'm blacked out, because I did that video and let everything out and then forgot about it right after. I'm pretty sure I went in detail on that video, so check that out. Jackson Fulcher helped me with a skit on that video, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people liked it. I liked it too, so. Just watch that if you want to know more about rings. Number 3 is the Bye Bye Man. Oh my goodness. I literally took so many chances throughout my videos that I've done that have skits in them to make fun of the Bye Bye Man because it's so bad. Oh my goodness, this movie is one of the worst horror movies that I've ever seen. You got characters that are terrible at acting. Terrible. I'm talking worst of the worst. Like the guy in Birdemic. The lead character in Birdemic. They reminded me of him. Okay, maybe not that bad, but they're on his level. You got his girlfriend who's just kind of this attractive woman that has nothing interesting about her. She's just like this idiot that can't act at all. And she like has this British accent in real life. And then she talks American in the movie. And it's so obvious that she's just doing an American accent. It was so bad. When the first time I saw it, I was always like, something about her voice always sounded so off, so I had to look up her, like, the actual actress to see if she had some sort of accent, and sure enough, she's British. And even in interviews with the actual actress, she is so boring. All the acting in this movie makes no sense. There are so many scenes that make no sense. Like, for example, the train scene where, like, the goth chick is with the main character and she's like, oh, there's people on the road, I gotta help them. Even though she's literally just the one that told the main character that looks like Dane DeHaan that the Bye Bye Man can make delusions in her brain, but instead she's just like, oh, I'm gonna go there anyway, even though this guy's telling me that I shouldn't be going there because the Bye Bye Man is making it in my head, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and then she dies because she's an idiot. That's what humans do. And then there's the scene where the Dane DeHaan guy's like, oh, I gotta get rid of this drawer that has the writing of the Bye Bye Man on it so nobody else says the name. I gotta throw it in these woods. This little patch of woods, like this tiny little patch of woods, I gotta throw it in there. What? Probably the best thing to do in that situation was burn the drawer, destroy it, do something, just like burn it. It's a drawer, it's like this wooden drawer, it shouldn't be that hard to burn. Go to a place where you're not gonna burn anything else, like it's not gonna be a hazard to anything, and then just light it on fire, and voila! Bye-bye the Bye Bye Man name. It's gone forever. Nobody else is gonna say it in that, at least in that area. The CGI in this movie looked atrocious. The special effects are incredibly bad. The dialogue, everything in this movie doesn't work. It is insane. Like, I could go in depth with every single little thing, but there's people who have already done that, so I'm not gonna waste your time with that too. The Emoji Movie. That's a movie that exists. I didn't even know what to say about this movie when I saw it. It got to the point where I needed to make a movie where it was kind of like inspired by Chris Stuckman's thoughts on videos, where he just kind of thinks about stuff and it's not a real review. Where he like actually thinks, it's like audibly you can hear the thoughts and like he talks about the movie. Like if you saw my video, you've seen what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. The Emoji Movie, in every way, is a movie that is like one of the worst animated movies that I've ever seen in my life. Like, the messages don't work. Like, there's literally a message in this movie that if you send an emoji to a girl on a phone, like, you could just, like, you have a crush, say, and you get her number somehow. Maybe it's from a friend, maybe it's from her herself, and you want to communicate with her, so you just go like, I'm gonna send an emoji. Then they're gonna like me. And then she sees the emoji and she goes, hey, let's hang out sometime. Does that happen in real life? Is that a thing that happens in real life? Like, it's literally just like the Emoji Movie makers trying to like make you use emojis because they love emojis so much. They want you to use them. Even though they don't care if it's a false message that should be terrible to teach little kids. Like an actual message that may break little kids' hearts when they're older because they try to copy what this kid did. They got their product placement so out of hand that they had the liberty to teach kids like a false, terrible message that could harm them in the future. I can't even believe that this movie was allowed to be in theaters. TJ Miller, the dude that was accused of sexual stuff, kind of similar to Kevin Spacey, is terrible in this movie. He's so unfunny. James Corden in this movie, who's supposed to be the comic relief, is awful. I like him as a talk show host, but in this movie he's terrible. Throwing up candy corn on his hand is not funny. Nothing's funny about throwing up candy corn. What's the joke? What is funny? This movie was so obsessed with product placement, like showing you YouTube. They go inside, the emojis go inside of YouTube and they're like, oh, we gotta escape from the evil robots because they're gonna kill me for being an emoji that can do several emotions. Oh no. We gotta go through Candy Crush. We gotta go through Just Dance. We gotta do all this product placement because we need money. Money. That's literally what the Emoji Movie is. That's why I couldn't even figure out some stuff to say about it in my review. That's why it was so short and it was not a traditional review, because it's more like a product than a movie. It's just a bunch of promotion for other things, like a trailer for YouTube or a trailer for Candy Crush. You also got a subplot that has nothing to do with the movie. You also have this character who's supposed to be like a strong female character, because that's apparently what every movie has to do nowadays. It has to have a strong female character. There are movies that do that right, like say Star Wars The Force Awakens with Rey. And then there are movies where the character isn't strong at all and it's just kind of like this cliche character that you've seen it done a million times. The Emoji Movie is one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen. Everything about this movie is atrocious from start to finish, and I never want to see it again in my life. I think if I had to watch this again, I would do something bad. I don't know what it would be, but I'd do something bad. Number 1. You all saw this coming. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul is one of the worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. This movie caused me pain. I'm not even kidding. This movie, while watching this movie, I was so enraged. Like, again, I just tried to block it out of my mind. But with this movie, there's nothing to forget about because it's so engraved in your memory. I remember so much about this movie because it's just like this thing that doesn't go away. Like I mentioned in my review that I did, where I went really in depth, I liked the books growing up quite a bit. The first one, Roderick Rules, The Last Straw, all those books, I liked them quite a bit when I grew up. They were enjoyable books for kids of that age, because they were about like an awkward kid that nobody liked, and he was just kind of like Charlie Brown from Peanuts basically. He's clearly very inspired by him. And then they have to like make these movies that are just like a cash grab to get money, because they just want to like populate on the Diary of a Wimpy Kid name, I guess. The fact that Jeff Kinney supports these movies just kind of shows that he's kind of, unfortunately, just this greedy guy that wants tons of money. It's sad. Like, he had a cameo in this movie just waving at the camera. Like, he literally just like waves at the camera. He's supposed to be at that game expo where he's waving at Roderick and Greg because he's at this like thing and he's like, come over to my studio. But it's more like he's just waving at the audience just like, ha ha. Every character that you like from the books are destroyed. Greg is an idiot. A selfish, brat idiot who just loves this Markiplier wannabe and wants to do everything so he can meet this Markiplier guy. And because he's a Markiplier Let's Player, and apparently Let's Players are so hip and things on YouTube that people love and watch because they sit and play a game all day. Roderick is more like this emo kid that's just annoying and an idiot. Like, in the books he was always stupid, but he wasn't this stupid. Like, they breached that to a new level, and there's nothing, like, every joke in this movie is just like, what's the joke? Like, he puts a pizza in a safe because he's that much of an idiot, and it's just kind of like, that's not funny. Where's the joke? There's literally a scene where he throws up at the screen, at the camera, and it's just like, it's just a CGI throw up that goes right at the screen. Like, what? And then there's of course the part where it's the Psycho ripoff. But what I hate even more than the Psycho ripoff is where he's like sitting in the shower area, and the beardo guy, who is terrible in this movie as well, by the way, is just taking a crap right in the toilet so you can hear every little thing that he's doing while he's taking this crap. That was in this movie. Because apparently it's funny to have a guy taking a crap. It's not gross. You know, it's not gross at all. It's just funny. because poop is funny. There's so many things that don't make sense in this movie, like the ending, like the scene where like they're standing there and the car's like blowing mud in their face and they're just standing there. They're not running away. They're just like, oh, the mud's getting me. Ooh. There's nothing more I can say about this movie. There's a video that I did, I think it was like 25 minutes, something around that, where I destroyed this movie. I said everything that had to be said, and it was a great video. I like that video a lot. It's one of my favorites I've done. So just check that out if you want to go more in detail. I think I've gone in detail enough. Alright guys, that was my worst list of this year. Okay. Oh, jeez. Now I never have to talk about these movies again. It's my favorite part of doing this video. I never have to remember them. They're just gone. I'm going a little bit insane if you can't tell, so I should probably wrap this up. If you like this video, you should probably like it. You should subscribe. You should follow me on Twitter and Instagram and my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page now. You should follow me in there. It's called Nate Blue Films. And I can't wait to see what 2018 has in store for us. Alright guys, I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Was he slow? No. Good kid, devil behind the wheel. Was he slow? Retarded means slow. Was he slow? No. What the hell else more do you need to know? Devil behind the wheel. Retarded means slow. Was he slow? No. Was he slow?